Hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Excellence. My name is Patrick Cummings. As always, I'm here with Ben Bergeron. Thank you as always for joining us. How the heck are you, Ben?
Doing so good, Patrick. Thanks.
Good. Happy to hear that. We've got this episode. You posted something on social medias, and it was just a list that you put together. I think the header was like, humans aren't meant to. And then you gave us 10 things humans are not meant to do. So I thought that'd be fun to have a chat on each one of these things. And so I'm going to do a quick rundown of all 10 just so folks know what's coming. And then we'll go back up to the top and spend a couple minutes on each of these bullet points. So here are your 10 things humans aren't meant to do. Number 1, work in offices for 9 hours a day. Number 2, work 50 weeks a year for 2 weeks of joy. Number 3, sit for most of the day. Number 4, be an artificial light. Number 5, watch Netflix. Number 6, scroll on devices. Number 7, eat food that can sit on a shelf for months. Number 8, be woken up by alarms. Number 9, be complacent. And number 10, give up their dreams. Let's go to the top. Number 1, work in offices for 9 hours a day.
Yeah, I think this one's probably most self-explanatory. I'm a big fan of the concept of evolutionary biology, right? Which means we aren't that far removed from our Paleolithic ancestors. We certainly live a very drastically different life than they did, but from a biological perspective, the way our nervous system, the nervous system is one of about 13 systems in the body, from the digestive system, the immune system, the nervous system, muscular, skeletal, cardiovascular, etc. We are not that different than we were back then. Cognitively, we're a fair amount smarter, but from the animalistic part of the brain, meaning like the prefrontal cortex, which is the decision-making part of the brain, to the amygdala, the lizard part of the brain, or the subconscious, the thing that did default programming, we're not substantively different compared to the world we live in. Like the world we live in, if a caveman was dropped in today's world, you might be able to tell he looks a little bit different. Like our Paleolithic ancestor, he might be a little bit hairier. He might have a little bit bigger of a forehead or whatever. If he was dropped in today, he wouldn't even recognize our world. I'm trying to keep from going on this weird tangent of if you took a human being today and dropped them 2,000 years in the future, there are people that talk about like we would look crazy different than like way more differenter, much more differentiationally. The difference between paleo dude to us is fractionally different than us to 2,000 years from now because of what's happening with bioengineering. We probably are all going to be 7.5 feet tall with incredible lean musculature and all have, it's because you can start to engineer the way that this is going. That's a different discussion. So let me pull back. But that's the tangent I was trying to keep from going to and I couldn't help myself. So that's where this whole thing resides. Human beings are supposed to be social animals that kick it around the campfire for most of the day, then go out and do some work to make sure we are doing what we can to make sure we survive. So we got to go out and build some shelter. We got to make some friends and we got to go out and get some food. That was the totality of our existence. And the estimations are that our early hominid ancestors worked closer to 90 minutes to 2 hours a day. And everything outside of that was leisure and social. So what are we not supposed to do? And I'm gonna leapfrog to all of them. But What are we not supposed to do? Like wake up, buy an alarm, drive in our car to a artificially lit environment that we sit down for 8 to 10 hours to then sit down and drive back to our work to then scroll on devices or click a display on a screen, stay up too late, past dark to eat crappy foods that humans aren't designed to eat, then rinse, wash, repeat that over and over and over again for 2 weeks that hopefully we get to do what we want to do. That's the punchline. So then we can break these things down. And that first one is the work schedule. Now, Am I saying that you should quit your job? I'm not saying that. I'm saying humans aren't meant to do these things. So don't take this as like, here's the advice to quit your job and go live in the woods and fly fish and that type of stuff. It's
never,
not that.
never be an artificial light.
Right. It's not, that's not the idea.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more playful and coy than anything else, which is, hey, just have this level of awareness that this isn't natural human existence. It is a part of our society today, but let's not just walk around unconscious to this. Let's have an awareness that this is new. This is very different. Think about the totality of human existence. Like the introduction to agricultural farming is like yesterday. It just started. And then the light bulb is like a couple hours ago. It's so new. And then this weird manufactured food is like now, it was created yesterday. So we're not used to this stuff. And we should take it with a level of awareness. Can we maybe pull back a little bit on some of these things? Not everything gets thrown to the dumpster, but can we just start to steer back a little bit? And maybe we don't drive towards that 9-hour workday. And this is also very different in today's work environment because it's, meaning post-COVID, there is more autonomy, more freedom of where the work happens and more freedom of schedule. And everyone's given a little bit more of an entrepreneurial approach to their jobs than they did 5 years ago.
Okay, so you just covered working in offices and a little bit work 50 hours a week for two weeks of joy, but there's probably more to unpack under that second one, the work 50 weeks a year for 2 weeks of joy. I
think that's more about just like, I think that's a little bit different. What I mean by that one, so the first one is your daily schedule, right? How much of your waking existence, I like to break the day into 3 8-hour chunks. You're going to sleep for 8 hours. Now whether that's 6 or 9, we're close enough. You're going to work for 8 hours. And now whether that's 7 or 10, it's close enough. And then you have another 8 hours outside of that, getting ready for work, coming home and doing your thing. So take sleep out, you're left with 16 hours. Half of your Monday through Friday for most of us is consumed by work. I would hope that people are finding some level of joy, some level of fulfillment, some level of excitement from that endeavor. Because if you're going there simply to fuel the 2 weeks that you get for vacation, that doesn't seem to be enough of a payoff for me. Sacrificing 50 weeks for 2 weeks of vacation, it seems like you got the wool pulled over your eyes. I would hope that people either have more freedom because they chose a seasonal occupation like a teacher or a landscaper, or that they're finding more fulfillment in their job on a day-to-day basis so it doesn't feel like work for them. And this is why one of the worthy pursuits in life is to blur the line between work and play. To me, if you can't tell the difference between when you're working and you're playing, I think you kind of nailed it, right? And again, this isn't like go quit your job and try to become a professional piano player because you love that. I think there's a little bit of maturity and tact and a variance of degrees that we can play to this, to where you are creating more opportunities in your life to do what truly sets your heart on fire. Not just the 2 weeks.
Right.
What ends up happening a lot of times for those people as well is they're burnt 2 weeks, and then they tip all the way to the other side, and it's filled with toxicity and debauchery. That's not joy either. That's a compensation mechanism.
Number 3, sit for most of the day. Hit on that a little bit with working in offices. Those two things do tend to travel together.
K-Star and Julie Starr talked about this in their book, Built to Move. But they have a test essentially to see how much should you be sitting? And, they were basically saying like, if you sit less than, I'm going to get the numbers wrong, so bear with me. But conceptually, it's something like 13 hours, you got to pay better attention. And I was like, 13 hours? Who in the world could possibly sit for 13 hours? You start to actually think about it, You get up, shower, brush your teeth, then you go downstairs, sit and have breakfast. And you gather your stuff, go outside, get in your car, and you sit in your car. And then you walk inside your job and you sit at your desk. A couple times you get up to make something to eat or take a break. It's like, oh my God, like those hours add up. We are not meant to particularly sit in chairs. The new Netflix series, one of the things that they talk about in terms of the new Netflix series, the Blue Zones, Live to 100, is I think it was the Okinawans from Japan. When they do sit, they sit on the floor. Sitting on the floor is a very different thing than sitting in a chair. Sitting on a floor is a beneficial thing. It is a stretch. It is not a muscle tightener. It's not a shortener.
Right.
So,
because you can't really ever relax when you're sitting cross-legged on the floor. There's no sinking into something. You have to sort of maintain.
Think about the end ranges of motion you're getting into. Like the sitting in a chair is not end ranges of motion. Right. It's just, for most of us, crappy posture. So you're just ingraining rounded shoulders, shortened hip flexors, tight Achilles, and all the rest. When you are standing, well, now you're at a end range of motion. When you sit on the floor, you are at end range of motion. The worst place to be is ingraining this kind of like, kyphosis of this rounding of the upper back and the tight hip flexors, and that comes with sitting. So, as human beings, there were no chairs forever. So we roamed the fields and we sat on the ground around a campfire. Maybe we were lucky enough to create a bench between two stones, but I think that was pretty rare. Maybe we rolled a log over or something like that.
I find a really nice balance every day, 30 to 40% standing at my desk where I am now, 30 to 40% sitting at the little table I've got behind me. And then like whatever the rest is, like working in a squat, for lack of a better way to put it. For me, like having my heels elevated a little bit. I can't do it. I can't work and do it in a squat without some heel assist. But for a little bit of time, 15, 20, 30 minutes tops, that balance works for me. I can't do standing all day. I don't prefer sitting all day, and I certainly don't want to squat all day, but going back and forth, when I shift, like, okay, I'm done editing this podcast, I'm going to go work on that. I'll shift my work position so that I'm constantly back and forth between different positions.
That's great. This is where the 10,000 step movement has emanated from, which is all these blue zones as well. And we talk about blue zones. It's like, well, these are the people living closer to our historical ancestors. The reason they're doing this so well is because their lives are not in our modern environment. They're eating cleaner foods, they're gardening, they're moving around a lot. So whether it's the 10,000 steps or their gardening seems to be one of the biggest correlates across all these societies that live a lot longer than the rest of us. Yeah. But to your point, where you can get it, you get it. And it's like whether it's moving and walking, whether it's exercise and going for a run, which is kind of a shortcut to get it all in quick. Even if you're exercising a lot and then you sit a lot, that's like that theory of you can't out-train a bad diet. Well, you can't out-train sitting for a long time either. One of the things, to your point, like you do it at work, when I go to my kids' soccer games, most of the other parents bring a chair. Yep. We try to bring a blanket. So you're either standing up or you're sitting on the ground, and I try to work on different positions, 90, 90s, frog, stretch a leg out, try to get yourself into that meditation pose, which I can't even get close to, but that the cross, like you see
lotus.
Lotus, yes.
Yes. Yep.
And try to use that as an opportunity to work on some cool positions on the ground.
Yeah. We'll be back in just 2 minutes, but first, let's say thanks to a few of the sponsors that make this show possible. We're brought to you this time around by SiPhox Health. SiPhox Health is a revolutionary at-home blood test. Imagine no more clinic visits or long waits. With SiPhox, you can collect your sample right from the comfort of your home. I've done it. It's very, very easy. Visit SiPhoxHealth.com/excellence to get 20% off your at-home blood test kit today. SiPhox provides affordable and comprehensive testing for 17 essential biomarkers, giving you a complete health overview in one easy-to-use kit. They've cut the cost of blood work by over 88%, making regular testing now accessible to everyone. This isn't just about affordability, though. It's also about convenience. You can track your health improvements regularly, staying on top of your personal goals. Plus, you get easy, digestible assessments, insights, recommendations, and plans of action to optimize your health. So if you want to learn more and get yourself started with SiPhox Health, go to SiPhoxHealth.com SiPhox.com. That's SiPhox health.com/excellence, and start your journey toward optimal health with 20% off your at-home blood test kit. That's SiPhoxHealth.com/excellence, SiPhoxHealth.com/excellence. We're also brought to you this time around by the Defender series of vehicles. If you are ready to embrace the impossible, you should meet the Defender, a true icon reimagined for modern explorers. Learn more, design your own, see the entire Defender lineup at LandRoverUSA.com. Whether you're tackling rugged trails or cruising through the city, the Defender is engineered to meet every challenge head-on. With legendary off-road capability, this adventure-ready SUV is designed with tough, rigid body architecture and robust materials to ensure durability and confidence in every journey. Choose from a family of models, including the Defender 90, 110, and the spacious 130, with seating for 8 people. Each model exudes confidence and is built for those who aren't satisfied to stay where they are. I know that's you. It's time to explore your way with the Defender. So what are your grand ambitions? Whatever they may be, the Defender is ready to accompany you on your journey. Remember to visit LandRoverUSA.com to explore and build your very own Defender today. LandRoverUSA.com. Design your Defender. Okay, back to the show. All right, let's move on to number 4, be in artificial light. So humans aren't meant to be in artificial light.
Yeah. You know, when I start to explore health and the mechanisms that create health and the things that are norms for us that are detriments to our health, this is the one that I don't feel like many people are talking about that I think might be one of the bigger culprits. Your circadian rhythm is so vital. Like every cell on your body is trying desperately to figure out what time of day it is. You have those 13-ish systems in your body. Those don't operate without a clock. They need to know what time it is. And the way they do that is through light. Light is the thing. Anyone listens to Huberman knows this because as a neuroscientist, his specialty is optical. It's like eyes. So this is why he's so into like sunlight, sun exposure, and low solar angle early in the morning and try to get yourself to watch a sunset. Well, the reason is because your body's systems will run better if they are in line with the natural circadian rhythm, the rhythm of daytime and darkness. Artificial light is the enemy of that. If we didn't have artificial light, I'm not saying, again, we could remove artificial light and go by candlelight and turn off the electricity to your house. That's not the message. The message is awareness of this thing so you can do your little things that can help. If we did not have artificial light, most of us would be in bed certainly by 10 p.m., if not closer to an hour or two after sunset, which in the Northeast is 6 or 7 o'clock at night, because that's what we did historically forever. We would stay awake. As it got dusk, we would light a fire for our dinner. When the fire went out, we went out and we got plenty of sleep. When the light came up, we came up, and that's the natural circadian rhythm. But this is one of the things that it's just a level of awareness of, maybe this isn't the norm. Maybe this isn't the way that we are designed to operate. And maybe our biology hasn't caught up to this new phenomenon, which is it can be daytime at nighttime.
Speaking of artificial light, watching Netflix.
Same deal. It's what keeps us up and distracted longer than we want to be. I think is the next one like scrolling on devices.
Yes.
Someone's hacked our neurology, our hormonal system. They've come in and they're in control. It's why there's binge watching, scroll. I don't even know what they call it.
Doom scrolling?
Where you just scroll and scroll and scroll. 22 minutes later, you're like, what am I doing? I went on here to check that text message. And the next thing I know, I'm watching, kids falling off swing sets. It's like crazy. That's like Katrin used to like, that's what her favorite thing was to watch, a feed called Kids Getting Hurt. It's like, and you're a bad person. Like... well, she's not. She's amazing. We are not meant to do that. Now, am I saying don't do it at all? No, but have a level of awareness. If you're spending hours a day doing this, well, this is not what we're programmed to do, meaning the way we as human beings find fulfillment. For all the luxuries we have in our lives, which is phenomenal. And if I was to choose to live in today versus medieval times or Paleolithic times, I'm choosing today 100 times over. We've never lived in safer, cleaner, healthier times than this. Having said that, the research is conclusive that as all of these luxuries have come up, our happiness is going down. Our fulfillment levels are going down. Our loneliness is going up. This is the reason, we talked about in the beginning of the podcast, to chase what truly matters, like live a life of excellence and fulfillment. Let's not get confused over just what's available to us to what's actually going to get us to that end state we're searching for.
Love that. Next one, we'll skip over scroll on devices because we kind of hit on that, is eat food that can sit on a shelf for months.
Straightforward. Like everyone's listening to this knows that processed food is not food. If there was a health thing, I think the foundation, the first thing that people should do when they're pursuing a healthier lifestyle is to exercise. But if there was one thing I could get the world to wake up to, it's that processed food is not food. It was created in a laboratory by people trying to find the perfect concoction of crunchiness, sweetness, and saltiness to get you to take another bite. That's their objective. I would love for the world to wake up to this notion that companies making non-food do not have the mission of feeding the world. They do not have the mission of improving the health of the world. They have a mission of increasing shareholder value. And the way that they do that is to get you to eat more. And the more is not more healthy food that's going to promote you. It is food that is, Socrates said, let food be thy medicine. And the food that you eat is a messenger to your DNA. It is a messenger to your DNA that tells your DNA to either do health promoting things like improve your immune function, work with better hormonal and gut health, or the opposite. You're sending messages down your esophagus to your stomach to feed the gut microbiome that affects all those other systems, either positively or negatively. If we could get that message across in a binary fashion, real food, if it grew from the earth or had a mother, will send good messages to the DNA and the gut microbiome. If it was made by man, it's going to do bad things. If it was made by Mother Nature, it's going to do good things. That's it, like binary. Sickness or health. That's how simple it is. We are not designed to eat the stuff that can sit on a shelf.
Was it Michael Pollan who coined the phrase man-made food-like substances?
Edible.
Is that him?
Yep. Edible. It's in his In Defense of Food. He wrote the book In Defense of Food. His first one was The Omnivore's Dilemma. Yep. His follow-up to that was In Defense of Food. And in that, he coined the term edible, man-made, food-like substances. It is not food. You can eat it.
Yes.
It looks like food. It tastes like food. It feels like food. But it's not.
Number 8, we've got be woken up by alarms.
Yeah. So like the health principle out of this is sleep enough, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird when you think about it. We're a species that purposely disrupts our sleep. Like if you were an alien coming down to Earth and seeing the human behavior for the first time, and there were these animals that were sleeping and, AKA, said another way, that they're doing one of the healthiest things they can do for themselves. And then all of a sudden, like stop, don't do that anymore. Just stop. Like you stop that thing. That would be a very strange, weird thing to witness. So we should get to sleep. If we're tired, if you're still sleeping, we're tired. Now, this is different than lethargy, complacency, no passion for your life. So you just want to like stay underneath the covers and, you know, you want to sleep until 11:30 a.m. That's not the conversation. This is the conversation of like at 5:35 every morning, an alarm goes off and you like blurry eyed, begrudgingly get yourself out of bed to go trudge off to these other 9 that we're talking about. This is a really morbid, depiction of human behavior in society right now, which I don't have. I'm very bullish on humanity, but not in this case.
Number 9, be complacent.
I just don't think this existed back in the day. I don't think humans had complacency because there was so much intrinsic motivation for what they did on a daily basis. And this is what you see when you start to study these blue zones again. They have much lower levels of stress, not because they have less stress. It's because they feel like the stress they have in their lives, they have control over.
Yep.
So a shepherd, and the example they use is a shepherd. A shepherd still has the stress that maybe a wolf is going to come and eat their flock, that they're going to lose a stray animal, that there's going to be a drought. That's a bad example because you can't control that one. But the idea is that the shepherd ultimately has control of his flock. Whereas what we do is, this is kind of tangential, so I'll get back to the complacency thing. But what we worry about is everything that's coming at us all the time. Well, that level of purpose that shepherd feels because of his job has so much meaning to him and his tribe and everyone else. There's not a lot of like, I don't know, I just don't know if I'm going to take the sheep out today. It's not there in those societies because they feel a sense of, it's called ikigai. Thank you. That's the Japanese definition of this, like inherent purpose in your life. And when you don't have that, the default is complacency. This isn't complacency in the sense of like, bust your ass, 90-hour work weeks, achieve, 7-figure incomes, get the Lamborghini and the yacht. It's not that. It's complacency in terms of your existence. If you are going to a job you feel detached from because you can't tie it to your purpose in existence, to me, that's a red flag that we're not doing things the way we are intended to do them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so much of that purpose or that pursuit of purpose is connected to other people who rely on us, need us, who we need in return. And I think to your point, just thinking about the shepherd, it's not just his sheep, it's what the sheep represent for his family, the town, the community, or whatever it is. And yeah, I think it's probably really hard to be complacent when you feel like you're part of this web of people, this web of relationships and interdependence. Complacency comes when we sort of put ourselves on an island and we're not sure why, we're not sure what matters. We're not sure if anything matters. Doesn't really matter. Nobody cares what I do. Nobody cares about the job I do. I don't have anybody to share this with. And so I think you're right. I think complacency is a technologically invented disease, for lack of a better way to put it. And it only comes about when we have so much abundance of this other stuff, of Netflix, of chairs, and all this other abundance, technological abundance that we have. Freaking chairs. And
look at you guys with your chairs.
And like, yeah, you're right. It probably didn't exist, at least not to a very large degree compared to today.
Yeah, spot on. That's why when we talk about our 5 factors, that is, if you're new to this, you might not know that that's where purpose lives, in connection. Because we say connection to yourself, to others, and to nature, the world, whatever it is. And that connection to yourself is understanding what truly matters to you.
Last one. Give up on your dreams.
I think this is an invented thing. This is a little bit of a weird one because if I was to talk about the history of humanity, This is the one that has the greatest opportunity now. People feel like they can be a famous musician because the playing field has been so leveled. It's not you need to know this one producer in Los Angeles that you don't have to get in his front of him and audition. It's like so I actually think that more people have more opportunities to chase their dreams now than ever before. It's why entrepreneurism, they're like the new rock stars now. Everyone wants to be the next great entrepreneur, where that wasn't even a thing 100 years ago. It was, if you're an entrepreneur, you had you were like a blacksmith or a cobbler. Maybe it's more than 100 years ago. So while this is from a evolutionary perspective, it's not that this is less abundant. Human beings at any level, we operate best when we have something exciting to look forward to.
Yep. And we're pushing forward.
When we see that the potential future state can be better than where we are right now, from a hormonal perspective, that's when we fire the best. And when you give up on your dreams, that's the opposite of that. It kind of roots back into settling into a life of complacency.
All right, my man. That was fun. Thank you as always. As a reminder to folks out there, if you want to start getting on the Chasing Excellence weekly newsletter, chasingexcellence.email is the URL to do so. It'll only take you 3 seconds. Thank you everybody out there for listening. Thank you for your ratings and your reviews. Ben and I will be back with another episode of Chasing Excellence next week.